You can all hear now?
Yes, we can hear.
For all those who don't know the prayer, you have come to the class after this prayer has been sort of explained and all that, and we're doing this for every class. So those who don't know what we are praying, what this invocation is about, please go to the channel, the YouTube channel, and type in Om Sana Vavatu on the Team Janki Santok channel, and the explanation is all given. So you can hear what the chant is about. Now, today we are going to do a very, very interesting aspect of Vedanta. It's one of those wow topics. If you haven't heard it before, then it's really something which is an eye opener. It's something, it's like, tell me something new. So this would be one of those things. Tell me something new. really very few of us think of this idea on our own. So now we've got two ways of doing this. We can either do the whole explanation and then read the topic, or read the topic as we normally do, paragraph by paragraph, and do it that way. So, you have any views? Shall we do the explanation first and then read the topic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Read and
Yes,
explain.
ma'am.
Okay, so let's do it like that, because sometimes some topics are just easier to understand if we do the topic and then read the text. Excuse me. Okay, so here is the question that we're going to try and answer today. Why do the good suffer? Lots of people have this. You hear so many, you read all the stories, whether it is the Mahabharata or, anywhere. You keep on hearing these things about how all these good people are suffering. You'll see it in the movies, you'll see it in real life, you'll see it in plays and novels. All about this, the good seem to suffer. Not only that, in our own life, we think, I am so good. And why am I suffering? Why are these people making me suffer? How, even things like I'm being taken for granted, or my husband doesn't appreciate me, or whatever, hundreds and hundreds of things where we find ourselves good, factually, maybe really, we really have done something good, but the consequence has been suffering. This is a very strange phenomenon, because we all know that do good and good happens. What goes around comes around. We've heard all this. Karma will, the law of karma says that if you have done good, good things will happen to you. Then how is it in this world we are saying that, we are seeing that negative things happen to good people? Even things like ill health, many, excuse me, many people give the example of, I know a really excellent person who unfortunately in older years lost his eyesight. And so many people around ask that question. If he's been so good his whole life, he's like always been service oriented, always helped everybody. How is it that such an awful thing came to him? So this is the question we're going to try and answer today. And Vedanta's answer to this question is a very interesting concept. I hope you get this concept, because this is something of real practical use to us. We must know this. If we don't know this, we'll be going through life, saying, oh, I'm so good and everybody treats me so badly. So let's see the concept. Omkar, do you have the chart available? Okay, so here is the chart which you can see on your screen. All those on Instagram can't see it, so I'm going to just turn it around so that they can also see this. I hope they can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Oops, I just want to show this. No, can't be done. Sorry, everybody who's watching us on Instagram. Okay, we'll just do it with.
Ma'am, chart is in the book also.
Yeah, so yes, I know that. I mean, he has shown it from the book, but for those who are watching on Instagram, if you have the book, turn to page. What's this page number, please, in this new book?
140.
140. Turn to page 140. The topic, aggressive and passive. So human, can we share on Instagram? How do we share? No, we can't share. It's copyrighted, Varsha. Human beings can be divided, broadly speaking. Okay, you still remember the question, right? The question is this: why do the good suffer? So, to answer that question, let's understand a concept. The concept that human beings can be divided, broadly speaking, into two categories. One category we are going to call aggressor. and one category we're going to call passive. Okay, now don't look up the dictionary meaning. These are words that are used technically. Technically means they have a particular usage in Vedanta. So, what is aggressive? Aggressive refers to a person who does everything using his intellect. He thinks, he plans, he maneuvers, he does everything using his intellect. And the passive people are those people who function on their minds. That means they function on conditioning, they function on desires, they function on what they feel like. Now, these people, the aggressive and the passive, can further be divided into two each. That means you can have passive good, passive bad, aggressive good, aggressive bad. Right? So finally, human beings can be divided into four categories, which is the passive good and bad, and the aggressive good and bad. You're seeing this on the chart, so I hope you're following. So human beings can be passive. Passive means they are mind-led, means they work on conditioning, they work on past, they work on how things have happened so far. Such kind of people could do it good, be good people, such as people who do charity because they happen to come from a charitable family, people who follow rules, they follow regulations, they are people who feel that this is the way that things should be done and they do it in that manner. Okay, they are the type of people who if you're the elder in the family, then you'll do all this for the younger people. They have all these notions of good and they do those things. And then there are the passive bad. The passive bad are just like the passive good insofar as they are also functioning on what they are conditioned to or what they feel like or from their mind. But in their case, those things happen to be negative, such as, they are from a family that is gambling all the time or drinking all the time. So they drink gambling all the time or drinking all the time. They are from a family, let us say, who has very rude ways of behavior or vulgar ways of behavior. And so they are also like that. But why are they like that? Because that's where they come from. That's their background. That's what they're conditioned to. That's what they feel like doing. There is no thought, there is no application. So the passive kind of people have no thought, no application towards whatever they're doing. Some of them happen to be in good things and some of them happen to be in bad things. Like many criminals in the jail, why are they there? Maybe they were children of criminals. Maybe they just happened to fall into bad company. And they just, in peer pressure and all that, they did whatever they were doing. So I hope the passive are clear. Passive people, passively good people follow rules, follow regulations, do what is considered the right thing to do. They are politically correct. They'll do all the things that they should say and do, but not out of thought, out of conditioning, out of the mind. And passive bad will do negative things again from the mind. Okay, these are the passive type. Now, the aggressive type. I hope passive type are clear. Now, the aggressive type. What do the aggressive type do? The aggressive type always think through things. They plan, they scheme, they maneuver, they figure out the best way of doing something and do it. The aggressive bad keep doing that, but for a bad purpose, for a selfish, self-centered purpose. Like so many, you see so many movies and all where where they show some guy who's scheming, who's manipulating, who is doing all the nakra in the world to achieve some end. Many of Shakespeare's plays have been villains like that, who keep on manipulating and doing all these things for some negative end, for some negative purpose. Such people are known as aggressively bad people. Okay, so clear we have passive good. That means those who follow rules, regulations, who do all the right things, they're charitable, they're good, they're nice, all this sort of thing. Passively bad people who may violate rules means they have their other set of rules that they are following. They are doing negative things. They may be criminals. They may be people who get angry and shout and whatever. They do negative things, but again from the mind. Then you have the aggressive bad. These guys are not functioning from their mind. They're scheming, they're manipulative, they have thought it through, they're playing a chess game, they know what they're doing, and that's why they're doing it. It is a considered, well considered, thought out plan and program to do something negative. Oh, Nisha, you can't hear either. I don't know why. Is it okay now? All right, so that's aggressive bad. Then comes the aggressive good. This is the category which is most difficult to understand because these guys are also scheming and manipulating and thinking and figuring it out. But they are doing all this for good purposes. They are thinking about whatever should be done. They may also break rules and regulations such as the aggressive bad do. They may also scheme, manipulate, plan, program, just as the aggressive bad do. But the difference is, whatever they do for the welfare of all. So is that clear? There is the passive bad, the passive good. Then there's the aggressive bad, and then there's the aggressive good. Now let's take the example. An example of passive good would be the Pandavas. Yudhishthira. He was passively good. He was God's good man, but he never applied himself. He didn't think about anything. He was very good and he behaved in a very good manner. Passive bad, or maybe the Kauravas. Aggressive bad, Duryodhana. He planned, he schemed, he manipulated, he did all that he could. He planned it, right? Remember all the various instances, how he planned. Actually, more than him, it was Shakuni who was aggressively good. But for those who don't know the background, let's take Duryodhana, who's always working towards the downfall of the Pandavas. But how is he working? He's thinking it through. He's not just going there and shouting and screaming at anyone. He's thinking it through. With the help of Shakuni, of course. And then aggressive good. Now, what happens in life is these aggressive bad people, they're always troubling the passive good and the passive bad. And the passive good have no way to deal with the aggressive bad because they don't use their head at all. They are good, so they just continue being good. And the aggressive good, bad make complete use of these people because they can. They can get their ends by making use of all these passive good and bad people. Even if you see the play Othello, you see how Iago manipulates, right? He manipulates the bad guys and he manipulates the good guys. He manipulates them both because he gets the bad guys to take the blame for his actions. So both ways, whether you're passive good or passive bad, the aggressive bad will take advantage of you. Why will they take advantage of you? Or how is it possible that they can take advantage of you?
Because they use their intellect.
Because they use their intellect, yes. Very good, because they use their intellect. So what is the solution? That we turn aggressively good. Now what's an example of aggressive goodness? Aggressive goodness is Krishna. Krishna also manipulates, he also plans, he also strategizes, he also does the nakra, he also breaks the rules, he does all that stuff. But he does it for the purpose of general welfare. He does it for everybody's good. He played so many games during the war, both before and after. But just think about it. What did Krishna personally have to ever gain? Whether the Pandavas win or the Kauravas win, what's going to happen to Krishna's life? Nothing. It's going to continue exactly the same. Yet he puts in his time, his effort, his energy in helping the Pandavas to win. Why does he do that? Because he wants to re-establish righteousness. No personal interest in it whatsoever. Even to say he wants to establish righteousness is not completely correct. He just knows that's the right thing to do. So he works for it. So it's a very, if you wish to not be, if as a good person, you feel that you are being in some way manipulated or anything, you feel you're suffering because of goodness, then one thing to remember always in life is we never suffer because of goodness. When we do suffer, it is because of we are stupid, not because we are good. Stupidity makes us suffer. Goodness doesn't make us suffer. In fact, our goodness prevents the suffering. Even after all our stupidity, the goodness will prevent suffering. Just as in the case of Yudhishthira, right? He was such a good man that even in the forest, in spite of the fact that he's the king of the land and he's sent to the forest, and he's quite peaceful over there. His goodness is protecting him. His goodness is keeping him happy. Goodness will not trouble us. But yes, our stupidity definitely will. So, if the only way a passive good person can deal with an aggressive bad person is by becoming aggressive good. There's no other way to do it. You can't give up your goodness. If you give up your goodness, you will go down the drain. But you must give up the stupidity behind it. If there's any form of stupidity, we'll pay the price for it, and we'll pay it badly. Rajni, it means aggressive behavior for the welfare of anyone is good. Yes, aggressive good means it is you're doing something with your head for an unselfish purpose. So for that purpose, you may break some rules, maybe do something that is not generally accepted as correct, but you did it because it had to be done. That doesn't give you the license to keep on breaking rules, but it just means that you have to use your head at any given time. What is the definition of good and bad as per Vedanta? Kalyan Kumar, good is anything unselfish and bad is anything selfish. Anything selfish, self-centered, done for yourself at the cost of others is bad, is selfish. And good means anything done for others, for the general welfare. What is that lovely Sanskrit Subhashitam? It says, Paropkaraya Punyaya. Punya. What is Punya? Paropkaraya. You're doing good to others. And what is Pap? You're doing bad to others. That's all there is to it.
But aggressive good also break rules. So isn't that also a form of violation of goodness in that sense?
No, that's the whole deal, no? There are times where you need to break a rule if you want to establish goodness. Let's take an example. Suppose there is a bank robbery, okay, and these guys are dashing away in their getaway car, right? And the police have called and the police give them chase. And the cars are just zooming down the road. Suddenly there's a red light. Will the bad guys stop at the red light? Of course not. They'll break the red light. They'll jump the right light, right? Now what should the police do? Should the police say, oh, red light, we are police, we should follow rules? Can they say that? They have to jump it too. Otherwise, they lose the robbers. So, there are times where you need to break the rules. That is not a general sort of thing that rules should not be there. That's not what it means. Of course, rules should be there. Rules are not there, the anarchy. But sometimes it is necessary for good people to break the rules if they want to maintain the goodness of society. This just becomes necessary. Just as how Krishna did, right? Remember that Duryodhana, out of trickery, got 11 Akshaunis. Akshaunis are battalions. He out of trickery. Like, how did he get Shalya? Shalya was on the side of the Pandavas, right? But how did he get him to fight on his side? I don't know if you all are familiar with the story that he was coming to fight for the Pandavas. He had agreed to fight for the Pandavas. He was coming to fight for the Pandavas. And as he was coming, there were fabulous arrangements made for him on the way. So he, being a Kshatriya king, he said, who has made these arrangements for me? They are fantastic. Whatever that person asks me for, I will give. So our friend Duryodhana arrives on the scene and says, I made those arrangements and I asked that you fight on my side. So Shalya, as a Kshatriya king, he had given his word. The oath he took, I will give you whatever you ask. That's how the Kshatriyas behave. I'll give you whatever you ask. And then somebody asks for something. And then they have to bear the brunt of this thing. So what could he do? He was related to the Pandavas. He was their friend. He was their benefactor. He was coming to fight for them. And Duryodhana arrives on the scene. He has planned everything, right? I made those arrangements. So Shalya had to stand by his word and fight on the side of Duryodhana. This is how, in various ways, Duryodhana managed to get people to fight for him. So he had 11 Akshaunis and the Pandavas had only 7. Okay? This was a battle that they were not going to win man to man. Impossible, right? They had one warrior, main warrior, Arjuna. And the Kaurava army had Bhishma, Drona, Karna, like what all? What was their chance of winning? So Krishna had to do Nakra and he did it. He sacrificed good people also in that thing, but he had to do it. He had no option. Either he give up righteousness or that's the tough decision that leaders need to take very often in life. It's, you can't help it. Sometimes there is collateral damage. It is. Sometimes we ourselves are the collateral damage. When somebody does something, let's say, for instance, Modi did demonetization and we suffered out of it. All of us suffered. We were the collateral damage, right? Why was that collateral damage done? In the hope that the bad guys get flushed out. Now, whether the bad guys got flushed out or not, I don't know. But we were part of that collateral damage. So if we bought into his theory, then we say, okay, this is the time I sacrifice. So we understand that. Is that clear?
Yes, Janaki ji, thank you so much.
So, we can't mechanically follow rules because sometimes it is in breaking of the rules itself that righteousness will be established. Yes, thank you, Varsha. Parupkaraya punyaya papaya parapinitam. Correct. Thank you. Don't tell us Google, Varsha. We are simply impressed that you knew it. You need not tell us that it's Google and all. Okay. So, is that clear? So now that we've understood so much, let's go back to our original question. Why do the good suffer? The good suffer because they are passive. And when will the good stop suffering? When they become aggressively good. If we choose not to become aggressively good, we will continue. In this battle, it's the battle of the intellect versus the mind. And there is no chance that the mind will win. Because the passive, the good and bad, are functioning on the mind. And what does that mean? Okay, somebody says something very rude to you. So you get very angry and you shout at him. Did you think, why did this person say something rude to me just now? What is he trying to achieve? Is he trying to achieve that I will get angry and say something? Have you even thought that? I can't tolerate you talking to me like that. Well, please tolerate, otherwise you don't know where this is leading. How many people have suffered because somebody has come and pulled the wrong, like sort of pulled all their buttons, and then they start screaming and yelling, and then they lose something. You can't do it like that. If you wanted to, Alpana, is it practical? I don't even know how to answer that question, Alpana. If you don't choose to use it this way, then is it practical? I can't imagine anything more practical than this. This is not idealistic. This is not telling you of some utopia. Everybody's so good, you be good. Somebody treats you badly, you just treat them well. It's not telling you any of that thing. It's telling you, get up and fight. Fight doesn't mean pick up arms. Face the challenge that your life has given you. What is more practical? I don't understand your question, Alpana. What are you meaning? Alpana? If this is not practical, I don't know what is practical. Then nothing can be practical. Please understand, people can pull our buttons, can press our buttons and make us do wrong things. You've seen, right? You've seen this happen in the movies, right? How somebody makes somebody do something, and then think of that example of practical, as in we need to retaliate and show people their place at times, is it not? You have to think, is this the time to show a person his place, and what exactly am I achieving by showing him his place? You have to think this through. Not start yelling and screaming and start showing people their places. For what? What are you trying to achieve? That should be your first question. What am I trying to achieve? And what I'm about to do, is it going to achieve that thing? To be reactive in life is the way to make yourself miserable and to fail at whatever you do. Don't be reactive. Don't let other people decide. You decide, na? You think it's the time to shout, shout. You think it's the time to not shout, don't shout. See Krishna, how he did when he killed Kamsa, as you know in the story. When he killed Kamsa, his brother-in-law, Jarasandha, the mighty Jarasandha, attacked the land. And you know what? You know the story, right? You know what Krishna did? He is a Kshatriya. What is the rule of the Kshatriya? If somebody challenges you to war, you have to take it. If you challenge a Kshatriya, he has to take it. And that's their rule. That's their code. You know what Krishna, the great Kshatriya, did, right? Y'all are aware? When Jarasandha attacked Mathura, what did...
No, we are not. I'm not aware.
Okay, yeah, Marsh.
He left the field. That's why he's known as Ranchod also.
Yes. So Marsh, what happened is Jarasandha, the mighty Jarasandha with his mighty army, attacked Krishna's country. And what did Krishna do as a Kshatriya who's supposed to fight this war, because a war is there and a Kshatriya is supposed to fight? What did he do? He ran away. He simply ran away. Now this is terrible. How on earth can a Kshatriya run away? It breaks every code of conduct of a Kshatriya. That's why Krishna has criticized so much. What kind of Kshatriya is he? He ran away from battle. Can you imagine a soldier running away from battle? He's considered a coward, right? And he's called that, as Aditi says. He's called Ranchod. Ranchod means one who runs from the battle. He's left the battlefield and run away. This is Krishna. But why did he run away? Why didn't he stand there and face Jarasandha? Because there was no way he could. There was no way. You know what would have happened had he gone to war with Jarasandha at that time? All his people would have died. That's all that would have happened. He would have sacrificed his people for his ego, saying, I must fight this. He may have still not died, but his army would have been slaughtered. So he thought it's better for me at this stage to just run away, because Jarasandha was not interested in fighting the army. He was interested in killing Krishna, right? He was interested in humiliating Krishna more than even killing him.
Thank you.
Krishna was a Gwala, not a Kshatriya. ASD? Who is ASD? ASD, from your name, I can't tell whether you're Indian or not. That's why I wanted to know who. ASD? Who is ASD? Nobody answers me. What is the matter? I wonder if anybody ever listens to me. No answers I get.
We do.
You do? Thank you, Kinari. Thank you, Kalyan Kumar. But what about ASD? Who is ASD? Indian or not Indian? Because I have to know that to start the answer. So he is not a Gwala ASD. He is a Kshatriya who happened to be adopted by the cowherds. He was a Kshatriya, born Kshatriya. He was Kamsa's nephew, right? He was Ugrasen's grandson. Ugrasen was the king. So he was the prince of the land. He was not even a Kshatriya. He was a prince of the land. And this prince of this land ran away. I mean, no Kshatriya would have the guts to run away. I'd rather die than face that kind of dishonor that I would get if I ran away. But Krishna runs. He just says, I'm off. Goodbye, everybody. What is this? Kalyan Kumar. Passive good seems like an oxymoron. Since if someone is good, then the person necessarily operates from the intellect. No, that's why we use the word here, good, and not unselfish or not virtuous. Good here means somebody who just does the good thing, the charity, the good acts, all of that. Sab se acha bolo, talk sweetly to everybody, jhuk jhuk ke baat karo, live within whatever you have been told to live in, follow all the rules, do all the good things. That's the good guy. Who everybody will say is a good guy, no doubt about that. So he doesn't operate from the intellect, and that's the great lesson for us to learn today. Okay.
But you just define good as being unselfish and not selfish and acting in the interest of welfare. Here, the definition, when you come to passive good, the good's definition is changed.
Yeah. Yes, you please come to Thursday class also, which is going to be how do you know what you know. You seem to be thinking along the right lines. Yes, you're correct. Sometimes in class, you just take a little shortcut in the hope that nobody is paying attention. But since you are paying attention, that goodness which comes from the mind, that goodness which comes from the mind in terms of Vedanta is usually considered selfish. So it was not a correct definition. Anything that you do based on your likes and dislikes are actually selfish. But that's a deeply philosophical thought and not relevant over here. Here, what we are talking about is you just being a helpful, nice person. Now, whether you're doing that from your mind is not relevant in this context, because what we are trying to say is the same idea, but just put in a different way. Is that clear?
Yeah, getting it.
So the idea is the same thing, but it's drawing our attention specifically to the fact that we can be very good and not be using our intellect. Specifically drawing our attention to that. Because most of us think that, oh, I'm doing all the good things, right? I mean, I think this was good and I did it, so therefore I'm in the right. No, you're not yet. Okay. That's why philosophy gets a bit complex, and then people say, "Oh, ye baat ho gaya, better do bhajan only." No, but if we get it, we will make a big difference to our lives and everybody else's lives.
Okay, thank you.
Hemant, there is a concept of accepting all that comes our way as will of God, when to be aggressively good or when to accept things as they are. Hemant, the two concepts are not different. In fact, they're both the same. That's the beauty of the Bhakti Marga and the Jnana Marga. The Bhakti Marga puts all this in lovely poetry. It's really beautiful how they say things. Jnana Marga is like a little more like 2 + 2 is equal to 4. Okay, don't waste my time. But Bhaktas, they will put it so beautifully when you hear it and all. You're like, oh, that's so nice. So accept everything that comes our way as the will of God is exactly the same thing as be aggressively good. Whatever comes to us as the will of God, what is the will of God? Will of God is not his personal will. I want to give Hemant this or I don't want to give Hemant that. That is not the will of God, right? That's nonsense. What is the will of God? The will of God is nothing but the law of causation. Whenever you put some cause into action, the effect will come. You put your hand in the fire, and it is the will of God that your hand will burn. Aggressive good means decide on the cause because the effect will come accordingly. Will of God means see what you've got because that's what you have done. So it's not different. It's the same thing. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Rajeshwari, is walking on spiritual path aggressively good? Rajeshwari, I can't answer that question unless you tell us what you mean by walking on the spiritual path. If by walking on the spiritual path, you mean that you have fixed yourself a goal, you have carefully considered how you will attain that goal, and you're executing all the things that will take you towards your goal, then yes, it is aggressively good. If you're walking on the spiritual path means that you're picking up all sorts of activities which you think are just good activities and you've never examined why they are good or how they're going to take you to your goal or even whether you have a goal, but you think, no, I like spirituality, then it's passive good. 99% of people on spiritual path are passively good people. And they all get mighty bashed up by life. And then they go and say no. Yeah, and then they go and say, no, but I'm quite happy. You're messing up, buddy. Who's going to tell anybody that? You're messing up big time. So walking on the spiritual path, if you define it in the way I did, then yes, aggressive. And if it's in the other way, then passive. Okay, Rajeshwari. So don't all of us, let's rest content. We're on the spiritual path, so we are aggressively good. No, look at your life, then you'll know whether, yes, that's the whole role of spiritual studies, Rajeshwari. It helps us identify our weaknesses and rectify, yes. Instead of pretending we don't have weaknesses and saying, I'm so good, I don't need to rectify. Or it's not possible to rectify, or whatever happens is the will of God. What on earth? Will of God mad or something? Oh, God will give me. What do you mean God will give you? He's got some preferential love for you? All of the path tells you preferential attachment is a bad thing, but God has preferential attachment. Come on, get real. Sometime we have to grow up, na? Put our feet on the ground, behave like mature adults. Sometime. So, okay, so are you clear? I assume now you all are clear with the concept why the good suffer. Why do the good suffer? Because they are passively good. Why do the bad win? Because they are aggressively bad. And when they are aggressively bad, they can make you do bad things too. Right? Because you can make a passively good person angry, make him say or do things that he would not have said or done under normal circumstances, and make him lose whatever it is that he should have rightfully got. So if you find yourself in that situation, don't say good suffer. Say I'm an idiot. Let me rectify myself and correct myself and deal with the situation around me. My husband treats me badly. Any woman who says my husband treats me badly should be given one tight slap. What do you mean he treats me badly? Say it correctly. I allow somebody to treat me badly and I take back this power. Some men will say, oh, that fellow has treated my elder brother, my wife, my somebody or the other treats me badly. Say it correctly. I have allowed this person to treat me in this manner and I will take back my power. I have given you the power to treat me badly. I'm going to take back this power. I've given you the power to hurt me. I take this power back. Say it properly. Because only if you say it properly, there's some hope you'll do it properly. But if you think, oh, मैं बेचारा, सब मुझे मार रहे हैं, then मारो फिर क्या कर सकते हैं? What can we do? You decide how you want to live your life. Vedanta can never prescribe any form of weakness. It's always a pillar of strength. Remember, you are the self. Why would you be weak? Remember, everybody is the self. Why would we want to superimpose our will on them? To maintain that right thing. Just maintain the right relationship. You don't act tough with me, and I don't act tough with you. That is a dignified way to live life, isn't it? Just because I'm willing to not act tough with you doesn't mean you can act tough with me. Clear? So, passive good suffer because of the aggressive bad. How do you solve this problem? By becoming aggressively good. Why do the aggressive win over the passive? Because the aggressive are using their intellect. Correct? So, all good so far?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
everything is good so far, it means you're not paying attention. Because the most obvious question should have been,
How do the aggressive good win over the aggressive bad?
How do the passive bad use intellect then? Sorry, aggressive bad, sorry.
How do they use their intellect means?
In the sense, if they're, again, the end is bad, then intellect operates towards meeting the end which is bad also, in that sense.
Yes, because that is possible, right? How does a bank rob a bank? You've seen all these famous heist movies, right? Where they go to rob something, or how they plan it. Bapre, what amount of planning goes into it? It's all aggressive bad. So yes, you can use your intellect for aggressive bad purposes. I mean, for bad purposes. If you do that, it's called aggressive bad.
Okay.
Intellect is the car, depends where you want to go. No, Varsha, intellect is the steering wheel. So if you don't use the steering wheel, your car will not go where you want it to go. And your intellect, depending on the strength of your intellect, you will examine that much, right? So Kalyan Kumar, maybe you can look at it like that also, that your intellect is only as good as what it examines. So your intellect has examined the path to that goal. It has not examined the goal. So it's still aggressive. Okay, so the most relevant question at this time is, the aggressive win over the passive because of the use of the intellect. Correct? That much is clear to everybody?
Yes.
Anybody has a problem up to that point? The aggressive win over the passive because of the use of the intellect. Now the question is, if the intellect wins, oh, Mrs. Malani, you have a question? You've raised your hand.
Yes, I was just saying, I was asking, that means the intellect is a tool.
That's
it just
right.
depends in which direction you use.
That's
What you mean?
It is not just that it depends which direction you use. It should also determine the direction. But when it doesn't do that, the mind gets to determine the end goal, the end result. So anything can, any part of it you can apply your intellect, right? You can apply your intellect in how do I become the world's richest person? Or you can apply your intellect to think, should I become the world's richest person? It depends on where the intellect applies itself.
Yes, that's what I meant. That intellect is a tool which you decide to use it for good, bad, for others, for selfish purposes. It then helps you to think through how to achieve your goal.
No,
whether it's good or bad.
No. Intellect is what has the capacity to discriminate. The discrimination can be on the path, how do I get to a particular goal? But a better intellect can also determine whether that goal is worth getting to.
Well, the aggressive bad has already established the fact that they want to get to that goal, which is obviously not a correct goal, or a one which works for the general good. So the aggressive bad uses the same intellect as a tool to achieve its end. That's what I meant.
Yes,
the intellect
but then what's the point of saying that we already know. I mean, like,
no,
then what is the
then
question?
I would think the question is that it's I felt it's a tool you are using. So the tool cannot be good and bad by itself. That's what I think.
No, it's not a tool. It is what uses. It was what should be using. There is not somebody using the tool of the intellect. The intellect is it. There is only body, mind, and intellect. Intellect has to use its ability, whatever is available to it. The intellect is not a tool in that sense.
No, what I meant now.
Okay, let's not go on repeating ourselves. I mean, this is the
fine,
thing. I mean, we can go on and on forever. Like,
okay, fine.
Brinda, you had something? If you're saying something, we can't hear you. Okay, she's okay. In the meanwhile, Shanti Shrikant, being passive is not okay because it comes from the mind, not intellect. Well, we don't pass judgments on whether it's okay or not, Shanti, but what we do say is, if you are passive, then you will be preyed upon by the aggressor. Rajeshwari, do we experience aggressive bad to shake us out of passive goodness to move us towards aggressive goodness? We should use the experiences of our lives to go towards the right path. We should not assume that the bad experiences are given to us to take us somewhere, because the bad experiences are nothing but us having done something wrong in the past. So there's nobody giving us a bad experience. I did something idiotic. I am meeting the consequence. Now that I'm meeting the consequence, now at least let me figure out the right thing and do it. So I should use my life I must use my experiences for my evolution, not believe that they were given to me for my evolution, because that's not correct. Those came to us because of the nonsense I have done. Okay, Rajeshwari. Brinda, goal is good is subjective. A terrorist justifies his goal. Yes, you can justify anything. Okay, so now coming back, the aggressive win over the passive because the aggressive use their intellect. This much is clear. So therefore, if you are listening carefully, you will ask the most obvious question, which is, if the aggressive people use their intellect and that is why they win, then both the aggressive good and the aggressive bad are using their intellect. Why do we say the aggressive good will win? Sounds unreasonable, isn't it? We made a statement. If you are an aggressively good person, you will win. Nobody's asking me, why? On what grounds? So now you understand the difference. Oh gosh, what happened here? Whatever, Instagram seems to have given up on us. All those who studied Vedanta treatise with me earlier are not allowed to answer. All those who are doing it for the first time, please apply yourself. Think about it. You'll get 1 whole week to apply yourself and figure it out. And at least, that actually teaches us what is a good question. A good question is a question that follows the line of thought and questions it. A good question is not a question that just brings something from somewhere, puts something together and creates chaos. When we concentrate on a topic, you should get down to its bare essentials. And hopefully one day we will question correctly, because only correct questioning will get us to correct answers, which means a deeper, a better understanding of the subject. So I'm going to leave you with this question since you didn't have it.
It's because the aggressive good, I think, is used for the good ends. And the more good you do, the more good karmas you accumulate. And over a period of time, you become better at it.
We can't say good karmas you accumulate, because there's no meaning in that sentence. Good karmas you accumulate. Karma means action. You're accumulating good action. So why? How is that going to help you? Doesn't answer the question. It's called begging the question. I'm asking you this question. How does it help you? Now,
Please, can you repeat the question?
Marsh, the theory says that we will, when we are passively good, the aggressively bad prey on us. Right? So the aggressive people, they win over the passive people because they use their intellect. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, in the case of the aggressive people, both good and bad, they're both using their intellect.
Right.
So why the assumption that the aggressive good will win over the aggressive bad?
Okay, that's the question that we need.
That's the question, yes. How can you say that? You say, okay, now these two they'll fight, they're equals because they're both using their head. Why would you assume that the aggressive good will win?
Because ma'am, is it because aggressive good is working for the welfare? I mean, his primary interest is not to do any manipulate anybody, but for the general welfare.
So why should he win? What is the cause and effect between that and winning?
He has focused on the goal and he's thought whether the goal is worth it.
Okay, but what does that to do with winning between the aggressive bad? The aggressive bad has thought about the path. He planned, program, do everything perfectly. Wait, now there's so much over here. Let me read what is being said. Surrender. Both aggressive bad and aggressive good should win as they're using their intellect. Is my understanding correct? Yes, in terms of using their intellect, they're equal. And if intellect is the cause of winning, then how can you say which of these two will win? You assume they both have equal intellect, then how can you make some assumption about their winning?
Since his conscience is clear, his energies are saved.
You will have to give us a logic by which he is definitely going to win. As discussed.
Ma'am, you said...
One second, Uttara, 1 second. Let me just go through all this here. Aggressive good has a selfless motive and can run on auto mode. Rajesh, be careful. If he can run on auto mode, he's not being aggressive. Auto mode is not aggressive. Auto mode is just the opposite. In contrast, a lot of energy is spent on being aggressively bad and hence can only take you so far. No, that energy is the finest energy. It means it's the intellectual energy. So the intellectual energy can take you extremely far. Varsha, you need to explain why will he win? Okay, he's very happy, but why will he win? Aggressive good is unselfish, but aggressive bad is selfish. Okay, Shanti, we know that, but why will he win? The difference in winning and losing is in the use of your intellect. Please remember, that's what your theory tells you. Follow that theory. Follow that theory to the very end.
We have a formula for the right action, no, Janki ji?
So, one second, I'll come back to you. Yeah. Think it through, everybody. Don't just justify. This is all justification going on. We have already decided the good fellow will win, and now we're going to justify this. That's not correct. Don't justify anything. Question. Don't believe Vedanta, for heaven's sake. Question it always. Always question.
Could it be because he's
God,
unselfish? Could it be
it
because
doesn't tell us why he'll win? 1 second.
No,
Everybody, let me just 1 second, Alka. I have to come to Uttara before I come to you. But before that, I'm going through all this. Good has selfless intentions, so what? Because good wins over bad, Brinda, this is begging the question. And bad has selfish intentions, so what? Wait, don't anyone say anything until I finish this. If Krishna is an example of aggressive good, Rama is an example of the Omkar, one day you're going to get whacked, okay? Wait, we'll hold all that. Finish one idea now before we go to another. Surendra, both will achieve their goals. We are saying that the aggressive good will win, Surendra. Anita, aggressive good is working towards self-realization. No, not necessarily so. Krishna was not working towards self-realization. He was a self-realized soul. Anjali, aggressive bad is self-centered. So he will be frustrated when he doesn't get what he doesn't. Okay, if he doesn't get it, he'll be frustrated. Why will he lose? Aggressive bad wins over passive good, and passive good is hurt. The aggressive good wins because both sides win. No, not at all. This is all poetry. Now have I finished, everybody? Okay, Uttara, what did you want to say?
Ma'am, everybody said this.
Said it. Okay.
I just wanted to say
Alka, what did? Okay.
Madam,
Alka, what did you want to say?
I wanted to say because he's not selfish and there's no personal motive, so he acts with a lot of clarity. There's no impulsiveness. So maybe by his planning and his actions will be very focused and clear. So he has the advantage. There's no personal motive, so there's nothing.
Why would that be different for the aggressive bad?
No, because if you have a personal motive, because you're so focused on the result, you get agitated. You make mistakes.
Ma'am, can I just try?
What
Okay,
what do we mean by
going
win?
somewhere close to it. I'm going to give you all this whole week to think about it.
Before that,
Okay,
what
and then
what
give
do we
us
mean?
a specific answer.
One question. What do we mean by win? When we say win, what are we saying? Win as in what?
Well, you achieve whatever you wanted. Like how Pandavas won the war. I don't know what you mean by that. Whatever was the tussle between, the aggressive good won the game.
Ma'am, if I can just collect from our intellect class what we discussed, maybe aggressive good is the right way of using the knowledge, the right way of when
So
compared
what? So what? All don't justify it. Always figure it out. Please use this week to figure out. Alka has veered her way as close to it as anyone else. So, I mean, more than anyone else. So, go to the end, figure out how can you make this statement that the aggressive good will win over the aggressive bad. How on earth can you say this? Okay, so we'll do it next time because we are well past our thing. So next time, please put on the chat whatever your answer is. And since you will have had 1 week to think about it. Anyone who gives the wrong answer, we'll have to do uthak baitak. So think it through and write down the answer. Okay.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you for a very challenging
Hari
class.
Om Janki ji.
Thank
Hari Om Janki ji.
Janki
Thank
ji.
you.
Janki ji. Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Thank you, Janki ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Di, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hari Om Janki ji.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om.